The task we had was to try to convince people that they could trust us, particularly with the economy, and to deal with issues that the Conservatives have made issues of division between people, like welfare and immigration. And we weren't able to do that in the end. We were badly beaten, yes. Not as badly as some people said. I mean, the thing that we shouldn't ignore is that the Labour vote actually did go up, and it's the first time since 1997 that we'd improved our standing, but it wasn't enough. And in some cases, it wasn't in the right places. It wasn't in the seats we needed to win to become the government. In the immediate aftermath, a lot of people said, oh, the policies were wrong. Actually, the policies were very popular, but people didn't know quite where they fitted. They didn't have a feel for the overall picture of what a Labour government would be and what it would mean. And in the end, we couldn't overcome the huge myth, very well spread by the Conservatives, that it was spending on schools and hospitals by a Labour government that caused the American economy and the Japanese economy and our economy to crash. It was brave and bold to try to make sure we were only a one-term opposition. But the more I look at the situation and the obstacles we had to overcome, the more I wonder whether we could have won. Perhaps we could have come closer, but whether we could have succeeded is another matter.
That's fascinating, because a lot of people will be reading your report and say, those people who are sceptical about Ed Miliband's leadership will say there's fuel there and it was Ed Miliband's fault, and if only David Miliband had been there, you'd have won the election.
Yes, you could hear axes grinding the minute that the exit poll came in on election night, I think. My view is quite straightforward. I supported Ed then, I support him now. I think he was an excellent leader. I'm sorry he was so badly traduced. David has many fine qualities, but one thing that people overlook is that for 5 years, if David had been the leader of the Labour Party, he would have been being attacked in the same way every Labour leader is. Not only was he not attacked, but in order to undermine Ed, he was praised. So I think people have got a bit of an unrealistic expectation of how different it would have been if David had been the leader. There's
obviously a similar report looking at the problems in opinion polling. Do you think that was a factor in Labour's loss, the inability of the public and the media to know exactly what was going on because they were being misinformed by the opinion polls?
I wouldn't have thought at one time that I would say so, but now I think the polls did make a difference, and in two ways. First of all, if we had fully understood that we were not actually neck and neck with the Tories, it would have made a difference, I think, to the way in which some policy issues were approached, because why take a risk if you think you don't need to? But secondly, where I think it made a real huge damaging difference was during the campaign itself, when, with respect, all people like yourself, all your colleagues wanted to talk about was coalition and deals and politicians doing dirty deals behind closed doors. Exactly the things that turn people off politics in an election when people were already pretty disenchanted with politics. We talked about, or you all talked about those things endlessly, when we should have been talking about housing, about welfare, about immigration, about the economy. It was drowned out by who'll go into bed with who.